Today is May 21st, 2025. My name is Rob Carter of Kalamazoo Right to Life, and this is Pro-Life Week. Well, we don't always have good news to report on our weekly programs, but today we do. Today we have three positive, encouraging developments across the country that we can share. First is coming from Missouri. Think back to this past November's election. There were several states that held abortion referendums, and tragically, regrettably, in most of those states, the pro-life side was outspent 10, 15, 20 to 1 and lost, enshrined abortion rights in most of these state constitutions. And one of the states that was a loss for the pro-life movement was in Missouri, which is a generally fairly reliable pro-life state. But here again, they were outspent, and the other side bombarded the voters and got them all confused and mixed up and distorted the truth. And we lost. The pro-abortion side won 51% of the vote in Missouri that put abortion rights into the state constitution. Well, apparently there's going to be a change. At least we hope there's going to be a change. The state legislature in Missouri approved a bill that will put this issue back on the ballot for a vote, a statewide vote. I'm assuming it's going to be a vote this fall, but I'm not sure about that. It may not be until the midterm elections in 2026. But either way, this bill would, let me see what it will do. It will amend the state constitution. Remember, the state constitution did change back in November with Amendment 3. That's what it was called. So now this new change, it goes back to the voters, and the voters can have a redo, so to speak, and vote again. If approved, the new amendment would allow abortions only for rape or incest up through the 12th week of pregnancy, or thereafter in the case of medical emergency or fetal anomaly. It restricts state funds from most abortions except for rape and incest, and does not affect miscarriages, ectopic pregnancies, or medical emergencies. Okay, so that's a future event. But the Republicans who control the state legislature, according to the article I read, in the state Senate, they had to overcome a Democratic filibuster. Well, typically a filibuster is like a 2/3 vote. So if the Republicans were able to get beyond the filibuster, that means there was broad-based support for getting this new bill before the voters to amend the Constitution again, to get it back to where it was life-affirming, protecting fetal rights. Okay, that was number one. Number two, Donald Trump is urging Republicans to unite and vote for his big one, beautiful bill, highlighting the legislature's major tax cut, pro-family provisions, and conservative reforms. Now, this is this reconciliation bill we've been talking about. It's been in the news for weeks and weeks, and there was a hurdle they had to jump over the weekend, but it finally got out of the Budget Committee. And now it's going to go to, I believe, to a full vote in the House and the Senate. And, the Democrats can't filibuster this thing in the Senate. So if all the Republicans hang together, which they should, this bill will pass. And it says here it's important for the country. Says Trump, it's the biggest tax reduction in history. Incredible for Medicaid and Medicare. Responding to Democratic claims that the bill would cut core entitlements, Trump added, quote, "The only thing we're cutting is waste, fraud, and abuse. We're not changing Medicaid, and we're not changing Medicare, and we're not changing Social Security, unquote. The bill also advances longtime conservative priorities. And this is the reason this little article is in Pro-Life Week. One of these longtime priorities is including defunding Planned Parenthood, banning taxpayer-funded gender transition procedures for minors through Medicaid, and expanding school choice. Defunding Planned Parenthood. So we will see how this plays out. But I'm encouraged. Obviously, there's going to be a legal challenge to that. But I am encouraged that this is the farthest we have ever gotten legislatively to getting Planned Parenthood out of the coffers of the American taxpayers. So good news, good news. We'll see how it plays out probably this week, if not this week, and next week for sure. Okay, number 3. School districts across the country require parental consent or consent before minors. I'm sorry. Let me read that again. School districts across the country require parental notice or consent before minors can go on a field trip or even receive a cough drop. But for years, the Supreme Court said that those same minors have a constitutional right to get an abortion with minimal, if any, parental involvement. Now the legal tables have finally turned. The U.S. and the Florida Supreme Courts have said that neither the federal nor the Florida state's constitution protects a right to abortion. And a Florida appeals court has now put parents' right to direct their children's upbringing back in its proper place. And this is something I wasn't aware, and since 2004, the Florida Constitution, as the plane goes by, the Florida Constitution has prohibited the legislature from limiting or denying the privacy right guaranteed to a minor under the United States Constitution as interpreted by the U.S. Supreme Court. Okay. Under state law, a minor can obtain an abortion without parental knowledge if a court deems her, quote, sufficiently mature to decide whether to terminate her pregnancy, or decides the notification and consent would not be in her best interest. So these are these judicial bypasses that have been upheld by the Supreme Court. So in this case, a pregnant minor living with her parents asked for such a judicial bypass, hoping to get an abortion before Florida's 6-week limit without their knowledge. So we have a 6-week bill. So this minor wants to have her abortion before the 6th week, because after that she can't. So that's her goal. The court denied her request, and she appealed. Florida Attorney General James Utmire entered the case to assert and defend the parents' rights, a task he accomplished when the appeals court unanimously affirmed the lower court's decision to deny the minor's request to keep her parents in the dark. So, good news from Florida. The courts have put parents back in the game with parental consent or notice regarding a minor's abortion. And parents have always been involved in the medical decisions of their children. And it's finally, it's finally an issue. And here in Michigan, there have been attempts, and there will be attempts by the pro-abortion governor and the pro-abortion-led state senate to repeal our parental consent law here in Michigan. And thank God that the state house is now controlled by a pro-life majority, and I believe we can stop this. So 3 good news coming from Missouri and Washington, D.C., and the state of Florida. With that, I'll let you go, and I'll see you next time.